What's up? Welcome back. And today's video is going to be a little bit different. Yesterday's video was a voiceover guide to mistakes that beginners commonly make. And I posted it on Reddit to try to see if I could get some views on it, some traction on a couple of voice acting subreddits. And I actually got a pretty good response and I got a lot of questions. So I thought it'd be cool to just go in and answer the questions here because some of these questions are really good questions. And I thought I could, give some insight. Quickstack asked, random, but about the blanket thing, I'm a uni student. I spent 210 pounds on a mic and iRig. Does a blanket really help? It sounds clean at the moment, although funnily enough, I've found putting a thin sock over the mic has helped a ton. Would a blanket over me have a similar effect? He's referring to the fact that I mentioned that a lot of people don't focus on their quality, and I even mentioned something as simple as putting a blanket over you when you record if you have nothing else will do a better job than just recording in a big open space. But what I wanted to point out, they mention here that they're putting a thin sock over the mic and it helps a lot. I mentioned here that there's a difference here. It's kind of when people put a sock over a mic, it's doing more to try to prevent plosives like a pop filter would. I can see it dampening a little bit of the high ends and all that stuff, but it's two separate things. I would actually recommend both. If you have a really bare bones mic and you're trying to improve the quality, putting a sock over it and then putting yourself under a blanket will do a lot better than just putting a sock, but they're two separate things. A sock would help with stuff like plosives, anything that's with a P or a T, because that makes the mic pop and needing a pop filter. And the blanket would be more to protect you from, reverb walls. If you don't have a room treated like mine, it's going to sound very echoey when you talk, and you're going to hear that in the recording. So putting yourself over a blanket makes it so that those sound waves can't travel as easily out. I think it's better than nothing. So recommend doing that. Puppies and Unicorns asked, how did you get into casting? I've always found it very interesting. So this one was because I mentioned that I had been a casting director before I actually became a voice actor. And so I initially started my whole VO journey almost as a mistake. I initially got into this as an audio engineer. I was engineering at a production house and they did a lot of commercial work recording other VO talents. And first I was just recording voiceovers for other people. And then eventually, after recording so many voiceovers, I got a feel for how, the whole process went. And eventually I started taking over the casting process. And so that would involve actually reaching out to different agencies or using places like Voice123 or voices.com to reach out to different talents and essentially put out casting calls. And then the hardest part about this was out of all the responses you got, it was filtering through and deciding who was going to be presented to client or not. So that's kind of how I got into it. I did that for years. And then eventually I decided to actually get into voice acting myself. Moonchica asks, do you have any breathing tips? Yeah. So this is one that, the obvious one is if you're a smoker, cut back or stop. Ideally stop because your lung capacity will just get shot. You're not going to be able to read long paragraphs. I will say this, trust the editors in this case. It's okay to stop after a sentence, take a deep breath, get back in. They can always cut that out. So don't think about taking one giant deep breath and then doing an entire paragraph without breathing. So whenever I have a period and a sentence break, I will take it some time, breathe. Doesn't matter. You don't have to breathe away from the mic. Again, they're probably going to cut it out. So you can just take a nice deep breath, take your time, and then hop right back in. Another place to do it is after commas. Commas are a natural kind of break. And so you can definitely take breaths there. And again, trust the editor and know that they can always tighten stuff up. So yeah, do that. Outrageous Rain 3383 said, I'm just starting out. I have a theater arts background and was gifted a Yeti Blue USB mic for Christmas this year and would like to put it to good use. Looking to start putting together some demos as a casting director. Would you have any advice outside of what you may have already mentioned in this video? So this is a good question. I will eventually make a video about making a demo and what goes into it and all that stuff. But my first piece of advice is keep it 60 seconds or less. That's it. If I'm 100% honest about how casting directors generally listen to VOs, you have to understand that they're going through hundreds of demos a lot of the time when they're in an auditioning or casting process. So what I would do if I got your demo in my inbox is I'm going to hit play. First of all, I'm going to listen to the first 3 to 5 seconds. If it's bad quality or it just doesn't sound professional, that's it. I'm not listening to the rest of it. Unfortunately, I mean, that's the harsh truth. If it passes that sort of filter, then I'm going to hop around your demo every 15 seconds or so, just kind of skip and listen to what's there, blah, blah, blah. And if it's all the same, I'm also going to be like, okay, well, there's no range here, out. So I strongly advise that when you're putting together a demo, every 15 seconds or so, you want to change to a different delivery style or just show some sort of range. If you're doing one that's a little bit more serious, do something a little bit more upbeat. If you have any accents that you want to throw in there, throw some accents in there, et cetera, and just try different things, keep it fresh, because the reality is I'm going to be skipping through, and only after I skip through and I say, okay, there's some range here, will I likely go back and then listen to the entire thing in its entirety. So that was it for the questions, but I did have a few comments that added some stuff to what I had said, and I thought it was a really good kind of pointer. So Capitano72 said, all good points. When recording others, they often say, we don't need to worry about the traffic noises coming in through the window. People listen for content, not quality. I try to explain that people will put up with a bad video, but not bad audio. But it seems that this is something they have to learn for themselves. I would also add a clean and loose mouth. Clean your teeth, scrape your tongue, make sure your jaws relax and your lips flexible. If that means physically pulling the corners of your mouth with your fingers for a few minutes, go ahead. 2 really, really good points here. A lot of times for example, in the YouTube world, people will say like, don't worry about the camera quality, just start filming, blah, blah. And that is very true. A lot of people in the video world, you can get away with like some pretty bad quality if the content is good. Audio, not so much. There's just something about audio that if it sounds bad, people disengage. They're just like it's harder to understand what's going on. And it's just like, it's not the same. So it's actually the opposite advice when you're getting into voice recording. I would say you should invest in at least a decent microphone, put up some blankets, do whatever you can. If it's an improvement over nothing, I highly recommend it. So yes, really good point. And then yes, clean your mouth, scrape your tongue, all that stuff. Relax your jaws. There's some exercises that you can do before a session to like loosen yourself up. I mean, that goes a long way, but yeah, that's a really good tip too. So thank you, Capitano72. And then the last one here was Nublet Squid. I like that name. Said, learning basic editing skills is another big plus. There are free VST and DAW trials. Even knowing how a basic compressor EQ noise reduction can make a world of a difference to sounding professional. And there are tons of free videos on YouTube. Yes, there are. In fact, my channel has quite a few videos and we'll be having more videos. I just started the channel, so bear with me as I kind of create more content. But yes, that is the idea. I want to create a platform where people can come, learn stuff that they maybe didn't know. And if it could even improve your work by 25, 50, maybe even 100%, then I've succeeded. So if you like this content and you found this useful at all, go ahead and just subscribe. Leave a comment if you have more questions. I can do more of these. Why not? All right. Thanks for watching.